Oshiwara Okaku on March 31, 1958, the night before the enforcement of the anti-prostitution law. Many prostitutes intended to stay even after the brothel turned into a bathhouse with private rooms. But Yukino washed her feet and married her common law husband Kanai, and her new wife wanted to start living. However, Kochi is a cruel badass. She is furious with Yukino, who tells her that she is pregnant, and after lynching her, she leads her to the stereo house wall of her store. After burying Yukino's corpse, he indulged in her love because of her immoral excitement. One day, Mayumi, who was informed by Yukino's black cat that her sister was missing, started working at Turkish Mahime, where Yukino worked, in order to approach her truth. This isn't the kind of film I'd usually check out, but the title was eye-catching and the listed genre made it sound too intriguing to pass up. I don't really know how a couple of those genres played into this, to be honest. It kind of worked as a unique and sometimes very out there film, but I don't know if I found it particularly good, just unique. I guess that's on me for giving a sleazy exploitation movie a shot, when I know I don't usually like this brand of exploitation movie. But sometimes being adventurous pays off. I think I can recognize some positive qualities here, and it could have been worse in some ways. But at the end of it all, I can't really call myself a fan either. A bizarre work that combines horror and pornography by bringing Bakeneko to the Turkish bath, a typical custom at the time of its release. In the mass media at the time, it was described as a Bakeneko movie that would be produced for the first time in a long time. It is said to be heretical pornographic film that was treated as a cult work by some as a phantom pinky horror that is difficult to divide into genre. Thanks to the effort of film critic Kazuhiko Kimata and a Cinemaura Shibuya in September 2006 at the special screening of Delusion Strange People Mondo Cinematic for the first time in decade. A theatrical screening was held. Since then, screening opportunities have increased. In addition, the screenplay by Masaru Kafefuda and Nobuki Nakajima was re-evaluated and selected as one of the Japanese movie history seen in the screenplay by scenario. February 17, 2018, at Tani Franca Cultural Center was also screened in a special feature titled The History of Japanese Cinema viewed through script from masterpieces to cult. While this movie may start out as a yakuza and prostitute skin flick, it evolves into horror when the ghost cat lady shows up. A brothel decides to convert to the titular Turkish bathhouse in order to try and avoid a government prostitution crackdown. Physical abuse against the women is brutal, and after one gets pregnant, you see how bad the pimp and even other girls are. But don't worry, revenge is on the way. After some hilarious flying cat sequences, the ghost cat lady appears and quickly becomes the coolest thing about this movie. Quite like this movie, it's a bit slow to get going, but the last half hour is gold. This film seemed to be hard to find in the past. I actually think it deserved to rank quite high on the best Japanese horror films of all time list, and hope it finds a new audience as a cult favorite. Since the anti-prostitution law went into effect on April 1, 1958, Genzo, the owner of the brothel harem in Oshiwara, opened a shopland called Mahime and decided to have the girls working as prostitutes. However, Yukino declined her invitation and lived with her mistress Yuzo Shikauchi. Kauchi intended to be her pimp for Yukino, so he made Yukino work at Mahime because of her debt. At that time, Yukino's younger sister Mayumi graduated from high school and moved to Tokyo from her countryside and rolled into her place. Yukino hid the fact that she was a prostitute from her Mayumi. A few days later, Shikauchi made Yukino live and work at Mahime to pay off her debt, and said Yukino's restraint fee with Genzo's second wife Uta, who he met at her club. Then she rapes Mayumi in her apartment while she is taking a shower. Mayumi ran out of her apartment and became a bar hostess. A few months later, Kanai and Uta, who found out that Yukino was pregnant, killed her and buried her corpse in the basement wall of Mahime. Mayumi, who saw an advertisement for recruiting prostitutes for Mahime, passed her test and got a job. Mayumi quickly became number one with her plump body and skillful technique. On the other hand, Shikanai also worked for Mahime because of Uta's recommendation. One day, a black cat that Yukino wanted to be cute guided Mayumi to Natsuyo, the daughter of Genzo, who had a bad body, and Mayumi learned that Yukino was missing. Shikanai and Uta planned to take over the Mahime and ask Genzo to marry Natsuyo. However, because Genzo refused, Shikauchi killed Genzo and raped Natsuyo. The next day, Natsuyo committed suicide. While Kanai and Uta were celebrating the success of their plan, a black cat that had bit of Genzo's wrist was staring at them. The two go down to the basement to check the corpse. Mayumi follows behind. Suruzo's corpse appears in the barrel, but a black cat hiding beside it suddenly attacks Shiokochi. Fresh blood spurted out from the black cat's body as the deadly battle continued, and the blood splattered on the wall where Yukino was buried. Suddenly the wall shattered with a loud noise, and Yukino's vengeful spirit appeared. Beautiful Yukino's face transformed into a monster cat. Mayumi eventually finds out the truth behind Yukino's killing and Yukino's vengeful spirit, introducing a super rare work from the Showa era that transcends the borders of pornography and horror with an unforgettable finale. The beginning of the movie is Oshiwara, Tokyo, the last day of the Red Line. Literary works such as Takurebe and masterpieces such as Red Light Zone and Oshiwara Burning were born in Oshiwara. But recently it has also been the stage of the popular anime Kimetsu no Yaiba depicting the Taisho era. The work is a story in a special bathhouse Turkish bath, which is no longer used. The key person in this story, Yukino, is played by Naomi Tani, an actress who has been active in Nikatsu Roman porno and others, and has a bewitching aura that makes you think that if someone like this were close to you, everyone would lose their reason. Hideo Murata plays Yukino's fiancée Shikanai. Yukino retired from working at Oshiwara in order to marry Kanai, but due to Kanai's financial problems, she will continue to work at the new store, which has switched to a Turkish bath. However, this Shiokachi is a villainous man. Yukino is deceived and killed by this man and another evil woman. The corpse is then hidden behind the wall. Yukino dies early, and until the second half of the movie, it is the story of Yukino's younger sister Mayumi, who also has an unfortunate path because of Kauchi. There are several scenes in the film that belong to the so-called SM and bondage genre. So if you are intolerant of violent drama, you can fast forward and the love-hate drama of villains. After committing a horrifying murder, they suddenly go into it. Two people with the same proclivities got together. In the last 15 minutes toward the climax, the monster cat finally appears. The grudge of the murdered black cat takes over Yukino, and Naomi Tani's actress spirit explodes. With analog special effect and groovy music in the background, Doraemon is surprised by the birth of a pure, white, humanoid monster cat wearing a white costume, a wig with white hair, and colored contact lenses that were rare at the time. Mr. Tani performed strange actions just like super kabuki, such as hanging upside down. Yukino in Monster Cat mode doesn't have any lines. Just a cat growl is too surreal, and even Wicked Heart will be blown away. Directed by Kazuhiko Yamaguchi in 1975. What's interesting is that the setting was slightly different from Edgar A. Poe's The Black Cat. In Poe's Black Cat, the corpse of a woman is buried in this work, where the cat was buried in the wall. And the black cat's blood on the stain on the wall started the curse. It was a very interesting setting. Yukino decides to wash her feet when the red line is abolished nationwide, to return to the newly opened Turkish restaurant Mahime. However, in reality, Kauchi only made Yukino his money. On top of that, she is so demonic that she even stole the virginity of Mayumi, Yukino's little sister, who just moved to Tokyo all the way from Tohoku. Shikauchi, who became the second wife of the Turkish restaurant and became the cheating partner of the proprietress, makes Yukino die suddenly and buries it in the wall. Mayumi knows all the truth about her, and Yukino's beloved cat Kuro appears and disappears. And Yukino's younger sister Mayumi also tries to find out what's going on and works at a Turkish restaurant, becoming the store's #1 seller. In the scene where Yukino Oriba is tied up, hung, and folded, she remembered imprint Buki Kyoto. The house that appeared in the anime depiction was crispy. Somewhere along the way from the Turkish Mayhem devotion, there is a sound that sounds like the theme song of the Gegege no Kitaro. Pio, but the unusual sound is also interesting. The black cat action scene is also fun. No matter how you look at it, it's a normal cat being thrown, or rather, it's a flying through the air. The scene where she appears from the wall and the monster cat, who appears with the thunder, makes me love it more and more every time she appears. In the laughing part, that double is erotic, inserted in the middle. It's a relief to watch it, and it's fun to watch. It's not too harsh, just right. Like salt sprinkled on watermelon or a pinch of salt added to red bean paste, it was a perfect match. This is a weird mix of genre, watchable but with a real, cruel streak to it. A married prostitute, Yukino, is betrayed and conned by her husband after she leaves her brother's job when Japanese parliament bans public prostitution. The brothel owner gets around the law by opening a bathhouse. But when Yukino returns and asks for her job back, she is found to be pregnant. Her sister Mayumi had come to stay with her and her husband, but when Yukino returned to her old job, the husband rapes Mayumi and Mayumi leaves. Yukino will not have the baby aborted, so she is tortured and killed by the bathhouse owner's wife, and the body is walled up in the basement. Mayumi gets a job at the bathhouse and is out for vengeance, as is Yukino's faithful black cat. But when the cat is killed in the basement, out comes the nasty, scary cat ghost thing, and nobody lives happily ever after. This is one weird and at times quite unpleasant film, and is only watchable probably due to its sheer strangeness. There is lots of squeaky clean romance, and the filmmakers must have spent a fortune on Mr. Bubble. The cat ghost thing may only be truly scary to those familiar with Japanese ghost and such, because it looks almost ridiculous, but it's got nasty claws and teeth, both of which get a lot of use. This is not the first pink film I've seen. Was not overly thrilled with the others because they were also horror films. Had some rather revolving element to them, but this is probably the weirdest. Before the anti-prostitution law comes into effect, the Onagenzo and his second wife Uta, who have decided to close the brothel, are in front of the prostitute who are eating. Decided to change Turkish bath from tomorrow, so everyone was asking if they would continue to work as they are now. All the prostitutes who have no other way to live agree, but only Yukino, who was alone with the black cat Kuro, asked to quit. Uta, who had never thought that someone would withdraw, quipped that she hadn't forgotten that she had dared to the store. But Yuki's resolve seemed to be firm. That night was the last scraping time, but at 12 the police came to the entrance and called attention. Thus the last light of the red line went out. The next day only Natsuyo, the lame Genzo's only daughter, came out to see Yukino off as she packed her thing. It was Yukino's common-law husband, Shikanai, who came to pick her up at her shop in a truck. Yukino, who has settled down in the apartment that Kanai has prepared, is deeply moved when she is sent her wedding ring. Yukino, who hugged her on the spot, asked if she could call her sister from her hometown and live with her, and she readily agreed. However, several Yakuza members suddenly rushed into the room of the two and began to torture Shiakauchi. When Yukino asked her why, she says she defaulted on a debt of 5 lakh yen. Apparently, Yukino realized that it was to buy this apartment and furniture, and apologized by saying that would make amend for this person. Yukino will return to the former shop where she changed her name to Turkish dancer. Genzo is disgusted by the fact that someone who quit once has returned so quickly, but he accepts Yukino, saying that he will train him because he can't get a new job without using his technique. At that time, Shiakouchi was giving the Yakuza who broke into the apartment a key money for doing a play. It was all a trap set by Shiakouchi. After that, Yukino's younger sister, who doesn't know anything about her, Mayumi, comes to Tokyo and comes to Yukino's apartment. To her kindly welcome sister and Kauchi, her country bred and naive, Mayumi tells her of her dream of working at her clothing store. That night, Mayumi wakes up in her futon and sees her sister hugging each other in the room next to her through her Fuzuma, and she freezes insane. A few days later, Kauchi confessed to Yukino that she had made a debt of 1 million yen by gambling. When she returned to her countryside for a couple of years, she will cool down, but she somehow asked Maihime to live and work for her. Yukino, who does not know in her dreams that she is being tricked by Shiakanai, who has a crush on her, agrees to work at her living, asking her to take care of Mayumi while she is away. The next day, Shiakouchi meets Uta at a bar and has received Yukino's restraint fee for the next 3 years. When Uta sees Yukino suppressing her nausea at her shop, she says coldly that she has no use for pregnant women. On the other hand, Mayumi, who was taking a shower at her apartment, was suddenly attacked by Shiakouchi, who entered. Kuro the cat was peeking through the ventilation opening. On that day, Yukino, who came home for the first time in a while, saw something strange between the two of them. So she immediately came to her senses and asked Mayumi, but Mayumi said, "Sister, break up with this person. Say something unexpected." Frenzied, Yukino involuntarily tries to stab her with a fruit knife near her and injures her arm. She immediately apologized and took care of it. Mayumi gets jealous when she sees the two of them and runs out of her room. Yukino confides that she has a child, but when Kauchi hears that, her expression changes in a way she has never seen before, and she doesn't know whose child she is, so she goes home.